Zels, 12 brandy and cokes. You crashed the boat on the Breeder River, but it was all for the Bulls. I'm wearing my Bully Bulls blue today.
Yes, mate.
Proudly wearing it, showing that we only support winners on this show. If you lose, you're out.
No mention. Well, there's a bit of a Lions red on
If
there,
you
mate.
lose, you're out. One thing I got right, you didn't have to be a rocket scientist to say die lose gaan 'n pak slaag kry.
Ja.
For those who don't know what that means, they were going to get a hammering. They did. Again, 120 minutes without scoring a point. Who travels that far?
Not to score.
Not to score a point. Think about all those tackles you make, everything you do in the cold, you don't even get a point. They were always mentally shot after the 42-0 massacre against Glasgow.
Yeah.
So no surprises there. The Bulls, we had them to beat Bayonne. We had them to beat Bayonne because they took their best available team to prove a point in France.
Yep.
They could have coughed this competition up, as the Sharks did. They put up the white flag with their selections. Very disappointed that they would just concede a title because they're not going to win the URC, I can tell you that much. You heard it first year in Cape Town, mate. Because Stormers are going to win it.
This week off has changed everything.
The last fortnight off, eh?
Yeah.
That's how you get an off season.
You just don't make it to the playoffs.
Qualify for anything. Let's start with the Bulls, the good news story.
You sure you want to do the good news first? Let's go. Let's do Bulls.
The good news story, the Bulls, the scrum.
Yes.
And I can tell you now, the Bulls would do well in the top 14.
They would do very well.
Perfectly made for French rugby.
I mean, Jake knows France backwards. Has done a few good things there with Montpellier. And I think that really does nail the point home about the difference between the Bulls and the Sharks and the Lions this weekend. Is the Bulls are a set-piece team. They defend well. And the rest of their game follows on from that. And I think the Lions and the Sharks, and there are obviously external factors that impact it, but the Lions and the Sharks, that isn't their sort of base blueprint, or it hasn't been in the last couple of weeks. And the Lions are sticking to this game flow of theirs where it's exciting, it's a high passing game away from home. And it doesn't work the same because they don't have the altitude factor. They don't have the heat beating down in these European teams. They're on foreign shores, on these Lego pitches. And I've said it, I mean, I think it was the last show or the show before that. They play too fast for themselves. I mean, their unforced errors were through the roof. I think they averaged almost 12 passes per kick against Edinburgh, which is unheard of. The Bulls were at less than 5. So on the Bulls, fantastic. Solid set piece, took their opportunities, were patient. Jake rolled the dice on a few of his selections, and it came off brilliantly for him. And they needed a big performance from Marcel Coetzee, who's been quite anonymous this season, if you ask me, and he came through in a big way. I think almost 15 tackles, 15 carries was right in the heart of that result. So excellent for the Bulls, and let's everybody join hands and wish them all the best all the way to the final. Hopefully they win this thing.
Okay, well, I'm sweating, you're sweating. It's about 34 degrees in Cape Town this morning.
At least.
We are trapped in a room because there's construction going on outside the house. My God, the cats are meowing on the thing. The child is talking downstairs.
At least you can't see the crack in the wall, mate.
Yes, this is when you start with a castle beer in the morning. Start Monday like that for a Jamison. But no, we're Jägermeister. No, none of that. We're starting with nice coffee and nice water.
Yes.
But the Bulls, I'm not sweating like this because of the Bulls schedule. I'm sweating because it is hot in Cape Town. But they knew that if they beat Bayonne, then they basically have to stay on. They go to Edinburgh. The winner of the Edinburgh obviously beating the Lions.
Yeah.
And that's the EPCR Challenge Cup done. Till May, when they then go into a semi-final, potentially a final. Then they go into...
Maybe the travel factor, for once, actually helped us. The Bulls saw the Lions lost. They knew that if they did not win against Bayonne, they were going to have to climb onto a plane and fly home. Maybe that was the motivation. They were like, I don't care what happens, guys. We are not getting back on a plane this week. Let's win this game.
Well, Jake did say, forget bonus points, forgetting this is about just going and getting W's.
Yeah.
It's every game's basically a knockout game for them now in the two competitions. So they've got past Bayonne, and you can't emphasize enough what a quality win that was. Bayonne top 4 in top 14, previously unbeaten in 12 matches in all competitions. Jeez. They beat Toulouse, they beat Toulon, they beat Racine, and they beat Bordeaux at home. Those in the top 14 competitions. They snuck a 1-pointer against the Scarlets, and Montpellier, they also put a 1-point victory over them. But no team had really come close to them outside of those two. And the Bulls were dominant. I mean, you talk about scores flattering a team, maybe 32-22. They're far better than the 10-point differential. But to go there and silence them and be up in a big score early on,
Totally.
completely took the crowd out of the equation, and fair play to them. But then they play in the URC. It's Munster and Glasgow, or is it Glasgow, Munster?
That's Munster, Glasgow.
So that's Limerick and then to Glasgow. I mean, those are two tough matches. Any visit to Munster, the province of Munster, is tough.
Yep.
You've got to be bloody good to win there.
Yep.
And Glasgow have been the form side outside of Leinster. And when I say the form side, because they pretty much played the same 25 players all the way through. They don't have the luxury of resting 18 internationals.
Yep.
That's going to be a rip, and we'll chat about that later in the week. Glasgow going to Dublin to play Leinster in the quarterfinals of the Investing Champions Cup. But the Bulls get through the next month. They deserve to be wherever they're going to be, which would be potentially top 2 in the URC and going through to a semi-final of the EPCR Challenge Cup. Which brings me back to the Sharks. And I know the word from when we called Sharks to lash them, apparently you called Leon to win when you saw the actual team come out, which is amazing. Well done. Because I had put my basis on a Sharks win, thinking they would, if not take their best team, at least take a mix and match. They took the B team.
Took the kids.
27-7, the game was over. Forget that it ended with a converted try, make it look fairly respectable.
Yeah.
I can't believe that a title that they made such fanfare about last season can mean so little to them this season. So they salvaged their season. Last season, Eben went on the charge. Eben went on record to say it's the greatest night in his club rugby history. Forget anything that happened at Province, the Stormers, or Toulon. Nothing got better than this night. And then they send a B team to just cash in and say, we're not interested. We're going for the URC. Now, what happens if they don't win the URC? If they don't go anywhere in the URC, a title is still a title. And while many consider it obviously to be the secondary title in Europe,
yes,
it's still prestigious to win the thing.
100%. And I mean, I would say it's easier to win the Challenge Cup than it is to win the URC. I think Glasgow's got their work cut out for them to win the URC, but I think they would be overwhelming favourites to win the Challenge Cup. I think it's easier to win the Challenge Cup. 3 knockout games. South Africans are built for knockout games, even if we do have to travel. And as these schedules go, most of the teams are overseas anyway, even though the Sharks end with two at home. They first got 2 away. So that whole block, they could have been overseas there. I am surprised that they, I say Jake rolled the dice a little bit with his selections, and I expected Plum to maybe try a few things, but that back 3 was basically just a giant target for Leon to pepper with kicks, and they got the reward that they wanted there. So that's how they won that game. But it is disappointing. It is disappointing because there's plenty of quality in that Shark side. That Tino Masaveri on the open side, absolute blind over game, cracking player. You've got Andre the Giant there coming off one of his better performances last week. So I'm just surprised that they had it there. I think there were unnecessary selections. I think in Bester and in Kuneni at wing and fullback, they just hung some kids out to dry in a way, because as much as they've got some experience of playing in France now, it wasn't the right setting for them. A guy like Sia Masuku must also be wondering what he was doing in a rare start in such a patchwork side.
Well, we've had this conversation throughout the season. I don't think anyone gains anything from taking a big one on tour with no experience around you. When the Bulls went and took 60, our Sharks took 60 in Bordeaux. When the Stormers took a big one in the Harlequins. When the Bulls sent the B team to Lyon and conceded 49, I think it was. What do you learn from that? You don't want to get on a plane. You know which ones to miss.
Exactly.
That's when the hamstring goes low back or good old concussion comes into play. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, the Sharks, even with a mix and match team, I think would have been good enough to win there.
Agreed.
Because they matched them comfortably up front. They just lacked everything in the back division. And going on to them for that block, the talk coming out of Durban was the travel schedule was going to be too tough for them. They couldn't risk going for the Challenge Cup defense and then losing their standing in the URC and dropping out of the top 4, potentially a home quarterfinal.
I think that's it right there, isn't it? The commercial value of that home playoff in the URC. That's what they're chasing. The financial,
No, but I mean, they don't even get a full crowd. I mean, they've got to give away things to get people in there. This isn't Cape Town, mate. It's only in Cape Town where you get the big crowds. Yes, we're obviously biased about the Stormers. It's lovely to talk about them because they didn't lose. The only team to not lose this last weekend were the DHL Stormers.
The Cheetahs won, mate.
The Cheetahs won and the Stormers didn't lose.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
The Cheetahs won in a thriller in the SA Cup against the Griffins.
Correct.
37-31.
Yes, mate.
It was a nail biter up
They
there.
are back.
Things could have been worse. They could have been in France.
Exactly.
But yeah, the Sharks. I mean, I put out just a comment on Insta and on X just to say I was just disappointed that I mean, the Sharks is a global club brand, and they like to think of themselves as being up there with a Toulouse, a Saracens. We're going to get to them as well, a Leinster, and a Crusaders. Yeah. And then just to go, we won out of this competition. And I would understand that if when they won it last year, they'd said, it's a Mickey Mouse competition. You know what? It's nothing. But the way they went on about history makers, first South African team to ever win in Europe, to win the Challenge Cup, then go and defend it.
Now, Joey Mongolo was talking in the defense coach afterwards about how they only really had 3 days to prepare for it. So that makes the changes in selections even more puzzling, you know.
Go out and defend it and say, like, we want to win this thing.
I agree.
But it was, to me, a very hypocritical kind of then stance on last season to say, who cares about the Challenge Cup?
Agreed.
And again, what I was hearing them saying from and around the camp, saying, like, well, they won it now, so they don't really need to win it again. The big one is the Investec Champions Cup. Well, that one was the big one, and they got their selections wrong for that as well in the league stages.
Yep.
Like, they conceded that their depth, their B team couldn't do the A team couldn't do the job.
Yeah.
So they sent youngsters into the Lions Den, basically, and they got crunched. And they did the same thing when they played the Bulls at Loftus. Only those kids came through for them that day.
Correct.
But there was still more of a mix and match.
True. Now they fly home, and then they fly back to play Edinburgh and Ulster. And then finish up with Ospreys and Scarlets in the URC, and hopefully that's enough to get them a home or top 4 finish and home playoff. I don't know. It's risky. It's risky. For me, it's less about the result and more about like what the long-term benefit is for those kids who kind of got thrown in the deep end. I don't think that's a good experience for them, as much as playing overseas has its value. I think those are two bright prospects who every time they get a shot at playing in the pro setup, it isn't in the sort of most conducive to learning environment. And yeah, I don't know whether that's the best thing for those guys. I would like to put those guys in a position where they can succeed. Like when you're going to be playing these URC games against Ospreys and Scarlets at the end of the season, give those guys a run there against weak opposition in Durban. So I don't know.
Thanks.
A few moments later.
All right, Zels. So there was a break, by the way. We had to rescue the cats, take them inside. We had to open doors because we were just everything was just going off here, man.
We're in a sauna.
In a sauna, mate. The Stormers didn't even play. I have no excuses to feel this on a Monday morning.
Exactly.
But the Bulls, yeah, I mean, we've criticized them a lot this year for how they've fallen away in Pretoria. The one in Bayonne, perfect.
Yeah. No, finished that game, closed it out as needed. And like I said earlier, they took their chances. It surprised me how it's taken attack coaches in rugby so long to cotton on to the fact that if teams are defending up and in, that you can bring back the old switch play and probably get some rewards on the inside for those lazy catch-up defenders. And you've seen that start to creep into rugby in the last couple of weeks, and the Bulls used it to great effect with Devin Williams and Sergil Peterson teaming up to break the line, score a great try. I'm loving watching Sergil's resurgence. Fantastic. So the Bulls have got an experienced back three, an experienced back line, and another instance was Davy Creel taking a sort of charge down kick from Rocketman, put through that grubber, latched onto it, scored another great try. So the Bulls, they're in form, they've got confidence, and like I say, when the opportunities presented themselves, the Bulls rounded them off. So all credit to them.
Right, so we got the generator King Steco come on board officially till the end of the year. We want to say thank you to them, and we're going to have the Steco power play. So I think, are you talking about the Bulls have to feature in that Steco power play?
You can take whatever moment you want. I'm going to choose one that's not going to be popular, but I really enjoyed it. So the Sharks' defense was not great. Okay, there was some basic systemic errors there. Cornell caught napping. They went through, scored a try. But there was a moment in that match where Leon tried to attack from the left. I think it was a scrum or line out. And the Sharks line came up, and Little Bester, their left wing, shot up and just smoked the oak. Probably the only proper tackle I saw in the game from the Sharks. But the youngster came up, picked his man, and absolutely decked him. It was fantastic. So for me, that was a power moment. I don't know if you want to choose a Bulls one, by all means.
Well, from having watched the Bulls game 3 times this weekend, because I enjoyed the victory, every time they scrummed was a power play. But I did enjoy the try.
Yes.
It showed that they are a team that when their backs do function, they've got a lot of class in the back division. But the scrum. I just love a strong South African scrum.
Beautiful thing
As
to
much
see.
as World Rugby wants to take the scrum out the game, and obviously one of my pet hates is this rugby league goal line dropout, which completely punishes the attacking team. I still don't know why teams haven't cottoned onto the players. Don't pick and go and get held up. This white line fever that so many of them, usually the props or the blindside flanker, who thinks I can go through 7 guys and score here. They should basically train it that you don't try it with. If you're within 3 meters, don't try. Rather play for the penalty, kind of play with a bit of width and use the space. But every time we see the dropout come, and then for the first time, I saw it this weekend, George Ford tried to drop kick back to basically get the ball back to them. Isn't that the best way to counter it?
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, first pass into your flower for your fullback, let him have a pot for 3 points and
Bingo.
get something out of that.
Bingo.
But they talk about that was supposed to speed up the game. All it does is kind of punish any attacking team, and then often it's about a 2-minute thing to see was the ball grounded
Exactly, mate.
and then what I
quartering
can't
drama.
understand again with the referees, the referee is on the other side when the player goes down. The referee then runs down when it's all over and he says, no try. Obviously, he can't see because
Yeah.
he's not there.
Yeah.
So instead of saying to the guy in the box, I couldn't see anything, tell me. He says, my on-field decision is a no try.
Yeah.
How can you even make that call that it's a no try?
Yeah.
Unless it's obviously protocols or whatever. But again, the inconsistencies, the ridiculousness. The same guy who's considered the best referee in the URC, our Italian friend,
Piardi.
the same guy who sent Nietland Forshia off on a
don't
red
get me
card
started on
when he
that, mate.
initially thought it was play on in real time.
Yep.
The same type of offense, and he gives the guy a yellow. And Nietland Forshia then gets 6 weeks. Refuses, the moral fiber of that guy, refuses to plead guilty because in 77 matches in the last 4 years, he's had one cynical team yellow
Good for
card.
him, mate.
He's never been sent off for foul play.
What a gent.
His record brings it down to 4, but he doesn't get the 3, which would then be the 1 if he has to go into 10 tackle school. And I believe the Stormers rightfully are appealing it. But a disgusting decision, and an all Welsh independent disciplinary commission who decided that. And I think the all Welsh must have been the chairperson of the Scarlets, Cardiff.
Mate, ever since you said Ospreys played clinically, they've had it in for us.
But there will be a new disciplinary that kind of will hear Nietland's plea for sanity.
Yeah.
They're not going to rescind the red card. They don't do that because then they really look like fools. So hopefully he will get a week off or 2 weeks off and only miss 2 of the 4 home games. But an absolutely crazy decision. And they tried to get him on some technical thing that in a freeze frame, his arm wasn't wrapped. But his arm was wrapped.
There was nowhere for his arm
Well,
to go.
it basically could have been wrapped around the 4G pitch. It was about that close to
Exactly.
it. So
Listen, we're talking referees, and give me your opinion on this. So that's a red card because it's dangerous, right? In that Harlequins game where they were blank, didn't score a point, in the second half, the guy comes off the bench for Harlequins, Jamie Benson. I think he's a fly half. And Leinster breakaway, he's behind the play. He's not chasing the play on the right-hand touchline. And Leinster get the ball to the edge. The ball carrier draws the last man and feeds Geordie Barrett on the wing. Before Geordie Barrett gets the ball, Benson, who's now in pursuit, ankle taps Geordie Barrett before he gets the ball. Not only does he ankle tap him, Benson doesn't go to ground in the act. He's just running. As far as I know, if you ankle tap somebody, you have to be diving. You have to leave your feet as well. Ankle taps the guy before he's got the ball, and the play carries on, and the ref brings it back for this and yellow cards him. Now, that is a super cynical foul play. Not only have you tackled a guy without the ball, you've ankle tapped him illegally, and like I say, way before the pass in what would have been a try-scoring moment. That gets yellow. But Nietland, who's got his knee on the deck, couldn't possibly go any lower without getting a red card for a grass cutter. To tackle a guy who's lowering himself into contact, who's already been tackled by Connor Evans, how is that a straight red and then a suspension on top of it? What's the logic in that?
as Rudolph Stroley said to Uli Smith when he lost the plot and had a rant about things, you make a good point, Uli.
You make a good point.
You make a good point, Zels.
It's just ridiculous.
You make a very good point,
I don't know what we're
Zels.
trying to do, is what I'm trying to say. I don't understand what where are we trying to get to on this.
You know, like you said, it's ad nauseum, but we are as frustrated as any punter would be. In the pub afterwards, it's Monday morning. I would say, like at the photocopy machine, but they don't have them anymore. They don't have offices anymore.
The photo what work?
Yeah, where they just have frustration. And rugby needs to be a simpler game. We keep on saying it.
100%.
Whoever it is out there wants to keep on changing it to make it more complicated, so more fans would come in and watch it who have never been brought up with the game. It's just madness. It's ridiculous, okay? But let's get back to the essence of the weekend.
Okay.
So the Bulls are through.
Yes.
And they were very good. The Sharks, good luck to them in the URC, and I hope their gamble pays off, but I think it could come unstuck quite badly.
I'm with you on that.
And
unless I see the team sheet, then I might change my
exactly. And the Lions, you lose. Daar was nie 'n lul op gewees nie.
No.
Hey? Daar was nie 'n brul gewees nie. No, they were shot. They mentally shot. And it's always been the thing with the Lions is they are the rabbits. They lead the pack in the first month of URC rugby. Back in the day with Super Rugby. And then they just don't seem to have the squad depth. Something goes amiss, and then they just plunge. I mean, they're in serious trouble to get their campaign back on track, because what you thought would be gimme games at home, you don't just restore confidence of not scoring a point in 120 minutes and getting blasted.
Totally.
And they were in Scotland. It wasn't like they had to travel like 40 minutes from Edinburgh to Glasgow, from Glasgow to Edinburgh.
Yeah. I think the Lions just need to be smarter about how they play, because if you ask me, as much as depth is an issue, they do have the cattle to play a narrower game and to be physical and overpower teams. They don't have to go to Edinburgh and be the Harlem Globetrotters. They can be more direct. I think they need to definitely have a plan around backing their kicking game overseas.
Or the Randfontein Rovers.
The Randfontein Rovers. Yeah. I'm just very, very relieved that I didn't tip the Lions to win. This has got nothing to do with me. I said they were going to lose. It's not me. I didn't hex it.
The Randburg Renegades.
Yeah.
The powerless pirates. Easy, guys. We love you. We love you, Lions. We love you, man. You want the Lions to do so well, eh?
I love the Lions.
You can only love a loser for so long.
That should be the headline of the show, mate.
It wasn't bad. I'll patent that one, okay? So we started with Steco's power plays. Any power plays from
Listen,
the
you
Lions?
got me off the track there. So you talked about I know that Steco is proudly South African, but this oak is a South African. The real power play guy who deserves a lot of credit is Arno Botha, a former Bulls number 8 Springbok guy. He just absolutely manhandled the Sharks. I think he crushed Corne Rahl's spirits early on, just bumped him off like he wasn't there. And he had a field day against the Sharks, making meters on every carry. So it was good to see him. He brought out his best performance.
That's one of the better ones I've seen him play in televised games.
Looking like a beast as well.
He is looking like a beast. I think he's on some really good French cuisine.
Protein.
That's the real protein. But he showed glimpses of the Arno Botha who burst onto the scene in 2013, 2014. Suffered with a lot of injuries, but it's always weird when we go and get clobbered. There's normally a South African doing the damage to us.
Isn't that the case?
Isn't that the irony?
Yeah, mate,
Isn't that the
pure
irony? Okay, mate. So
let's hope that's not the case against Edinburgh with the Bulls.
Yeah, I'm sure the Bulls should be able to back this one up, because travel's not an issue. They've been on tour. They've got the core of their squad there. Goose is on his way back. It was good to see him get back on the field, Jan Gerson, not Maurice Gerson. He's never getting back on anymore. For those who don't know, South African who went to Italy and made a life for himself has been very good.
Yeah.
He was with Benetton, with the Italian team, and every now and again, when I do confuse the Gersons on X, he always thanks me for picking him again.
Don't they have a Gerson there in Edinburgh as well? He just signed an extension.
Wes Gerson, he is a South African, born 4 years old when his family moved to New Zealand.
Born at 4, mate, not bad.
No, 4 years old when he left. So we can say that his pedigree was groomed and raised in East London.
South African as long as he does well.
Think of that, he could have been playing for the Border Bulldogs and taking 100 in the SA Cup.
SA Cup is calling.
His dad, I got you out there early, mate. And we spoke about Glenn Gelderbloem, who was one of the first South Africans to experience success in the first grouping for Leicester Tigers. He won 2 Investec Champion Cups in the early 2000s, ex-province boy, but he played over 100 games for Border. At the time when Border beat Wales. I know it was a different Wales team, but they beat that was a Wales side that lost 96-13, by the way. So they beat Wales.
Just if the Welsh think it can't get any worse, mate, it can. It has.
So that team that took another 100 in the SA Cup actually has a Welsh sculpt in the historical.
That is unbelievable.
No, it isn't shocking,
Eh?
man. It's shocking.
Yeah.
So we look at the Challenge Cup. No surprises there in terms of the other teams that won. In the Investec Champions Cup, Munster, La Rochelle, again, how La Rochelle didn't get a yellow card in their favour. In the last 5 minutes, there were so many penalties given to them, but with no real reward.
Yep.
But Munster got in. It is Munster that beat them,
Yeah,
25-24.
25-24, yeah.
Again, great win for the boys from Munster.
Yeah.
That one would surprise me. Very little else that was a surprise. What surprised me was that you can still go to Toulon, score 43 points and concede 72.
So I'll tell you what surprised me is in the Challenge Cup, away teams won. You know, you expect in Europe, they tell you, yeah, you travel, you don't win, but the away teams won. So Edinburgh were a home team to win, Bath won away, the Bulls won away, Gloucester won away, Racing 92 beat Perpignan at Perpignan. And yeah, so that's how many? 5 of those. And then obviously in the Champions Cup, that whole sort of trend was reversed. You got Northampton beating Clermont, Toulon beating Saracens, Leinster blanking Harlequins, Castor beating Benetton, La Rochelle losing, that's a home team losing to Munster, Glasgow beating Leicester, Bordeaux beating Ulster, and Toulouse beating Sale. So very much the creme de la creme teams, they win at home. But in the Challenge Cup, you can win away.
But also, if you look at that, and that Castor Benetton game was a great game. But again, red cards, yellow cards influenced everything. But heartbreak there for Benetton in the end to come so close and then just not get over the line. Oh. And I was praying for them to go through because obviously it means they give up a position in the UFC and they play down in Cape Town, brother. But they are a good side. They've improved a lot.
Benetton.
They've improved a lot.
Yeah.
But if you look at the Champions Cup quarterfinals,
Yep.
3 URC teams, 4 French teams, and 1 English. We've got to get an English team in there. Northampton
Had a bad
Saints.
weekend, man.
And who's leading the charge there? Trocky. Johannes Augustus.
There
Okay?
he is.
Another South African, another Sapper
Yeah.
on the charge. Then in the Challenge Cup quarterfinals, 4 URC teams, 2 French teams, and 2 English teams. And then combined, if you look at the Investec Champions Cup and the EPCR Challenge Cup, the 2 finest competitions up north, global competitions, we have 3 English teams, we have 6 French teams, and we have 7 URC teams.
Wow.
And you know what the differentiator there is? The Bulls. Otherwise, it would have been a tie. So thank you for South Africa for being in these competitions.
Yes, well done, boys. Keep
Now
up
go
the
out
good
there
work.
and win it.
Correct. Go all the way. Bring home the trophy.
Because it'd be great if the Bulls won that one. Then it's 2 South African wins in 2 years.
Yeah.
We've hosted 3, the first 3 URC finals at home. 1-1, the Stormers. They lost to Munster in the last few minutes in the second one. And then the Bulls losing to Glasgow at Loftus.
Yeah.
So anyone who quibbles about South African and South Africa's presence in these competitions is talking a lot of crap.
It is true,
Firstly,
mate. It's true what you say.
where we give them ammunition is when we send youngsters and second teams to take 50
Bingo.
points. Because that's never been our mentality. Why did we become like French top 14
I don't
clubs?
know.
Where they used to just send the second team to
It's
take
an away
70
game. Send
and win at home the next week with 75.
Yeah.
So we can play there. The Bulls, to me, on form. The Stormers on form. The Sharks, when they gel. The Lions not quite there. But those 3 teams should always be in the top 8, top 10 of European club sides.
Agreed.
Regardless of budgets, regardless of anything. We do have the players to be competitive. When you see other teams sneaking into that last 8, you think we're good enough. We've knocked over some of these teams. You know, I looked at Sale for the best part of 45 minutes against Toulouse, and they made Toulouse look pretty average with aggressive defense, aggressive attack.
To be fair, mate, Toulouse were up about 100-0 at that stage of the game.
No, it was 7-0 to Toulouse. Then they were 15-7 down. See, you didn't watch that one, eh?
What was the final quarter score?
Huh?
What was the final quarter score in that game?
The
mate?
final quarter score, mate, was a lot of meters made by Toulouse. Look, what could have put Toulouse off was a parachuter getting caught.
That was beautiful, man.
Eh?
Great
45
PR.
minutes. 45 minutes they delayed it. I mean, the things Anton Dupont will go to.
I just want to be part of this.
Yeah, okay, let's hold the game. Anton's up there. Do you know what you would have found out? That the volunteer fireman who got him down, is Anton Dupont, because that's what he gives back to the community.
Correct. It's me.
It's Anton Dupont. I will just save the guy up there.
That ladder just kept going.
But a great atmosphere there as well. It reminded me watching the game. I just thought I was watching a really cool Saturday afternoon at the old Newlands, packed. Stormers winning against Canterbury and just looking good. But Sale were always good for 50 minutes, and then they were going to get run over to lose too much class. Great one. We'll chat about that on Thursday as well. Toulon to lose, but at Toulon. So
that's going to be massive.
And when the French derbies come and they travel, there's no gimme that Toulouse will go through.
Yeah.
Although I do think they are a decidedly better team than Toulon.
Yeah.
But still, to put 72 points past Saracens 15, because Saracens again went out and said, we're not picking our best team. We are concentrating on the Premiership. It's a competition played by 11 English clubs. You may have heard of it. There used to be 12. You can't get relegated. You can't get promoted from the next division. You're safe forever. And 5 of them, I think, are insolvent, and another 5 are close to being insolvent. So their domestic competition is in serious trouble.
Redlined.
So, and shows, well, they've only got one team, Northampton Saints, and they're courtesy of a home win. They beat Clermont quite comfortably. But yeah, that's it. 50 minutes, and then they were kind of out of it.
Yeah.
The French top 14, obviously their top 6 clubs, especially playing at home, worlds apart, but then their budgets, the makeup of their squads. Oh, so many good non-French players in there as well.
Correct.
So they get the mixture right.
Yeah.
Were you surprised at Sarries getting 43 points?
Mate, the fact that they scored 112 points or whatever it was in that game is just absolutely mind-blowing, and probably 35 minutes ball in play. So, yeah, I think both teams will be looking at their defense. But yeah, like you said, the English Premiership's been in trouble for a while now, and there's a lot of sort of uncertainty around the future of that competition, those clubs, those players, I think probably looking around as well. And just the off-field drama between Sweeney and Ealing Trailfinders not being able to come up, and there's just so much stuff going on off the field there, and I think that's probably a reflection of the leadership of that particular league. There's been a lot of focus on things that have got nothing to do with rugby, and I think these are some of the consequences you get from that. Talking about those big quarterfinals, Toulon Toulouse, obviously Ange Cappuccino, he hurt himself at the end of that game. He's out. No Duan van der Merwe for the rematch against his brother when the Bulls come to town. So some big names missing from the quarterfinals.
And we will chat about that on Thursday when we know the teams as well.
Yes, we will.
I'm not making that mistake again.
Gotcha.
I'm not making those predictions without seeing a team sheet. Sharks to lash Leon. We've just announced the Sharks team, and there's one Springbok in it. It's Andre the Giant.
Heno Mens on the wing.
The flying winner. He's got a lot of tries.
Yeah.
Super Rugby, 4 Australian teams in the top 6. Top 2 are New Zealand. That's Chiefs and Crusaders.
Yes, mate.
Chiefs 6 wins, 1 defeat. Crusaders 5 wins out of 7.
Brilliant.
And Moana Pacifica, another very famous win against the Waratahs, who have now gone to New Zealand in 2 successive matches and conceded over 100 points.
Mate, but you were telling me the Australian rugby is coming back. I'm not so sure about it, mate.
No, it is, mate, when you play in Sydney. Or when you play in Perth.
Yeah,
Western Force are up
Force
there.
beat the Highlanders.
Yeah, everyone's beating the Highlanders.
True.
But good to see Bowden Barrett back and decisive win, the 1-pointer against his old club, the Hurricanes.
Yes.
Crusaders, crazily when they lost to Pacifica at home, Moana Pacifica at home, conceded 45 points, but went to Fiji, won against Tudrua, 31-14.
Macca Springer on the board, mate.
Macca there. I like that guy.
Yeah,
I think he could be in the All Black mix as well. What happened to your mate Sever Reese? Has been injured.
I don't know, mate. Where is he?
I haven't seen him for a while.
He's
He
playing
needs that one
13.
try. He needs that one try.
Yeah.
And then the Blues, well, it's only their second win out of 7. Maybe that will be the turning point for them. They have really paced themselves well, if you want to put it like that.
They're going to peak at just the right
Just the right time for All Black selection and for playoffs, okay? So, Super Rugby, though, it just does seem more competitive than it has for a while. And obviously, they would look at the Bulls, the Blues edging the Hurricanes by 1 point and say, did you see that Saracens Toulon game? And they call us basketball.
Oh, mate, that's a great point, that actually, isn't it? That's a great point. Yeah, very fair play, I think. Because they have taken a couple of shots for being basketball, and obviously that massive high-scoring game, you have to ask questions about that. I think the parity that you see in Super Rugby may be because all of the teams are equally average. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I got him to spit up his coffee, mate. I'm not so sure that the quality is really there. So I don't know. I suppose time will tell. In the rugby championship, we'll get a better picture.
You're a
of it.
hard taskmaster.
But
Jamie Wall's going to be on to you, mate.
mate,
If
Jamie's
you
already
can't
on
love
to me.
this game, then what can
I
you
enjoy
love?
watching it. I'm just saying. I'm not sure the level's there.
Popcorn, eh? Every time that little popcorn comes on next, Zels is watching the game again, eh? He didn't watch the Toulouse game, but he's watching this one. What was the score? But you knew the SA Cup score, so I'm glad that you know.
Mate, I'm
your
all
products
over
are.
that competition. Yep.
The Toyota Cheetahs.
Yes, mate.
You've been given a Hilux to drive for the last week.
I've seen.
But not from Toyota. Dion Joubert Racing. Appreciate
go,
that, mate.
mate.
Yeah,
Love it.
nice one. Yeah,
Good.
lovely car. Good man, that. Always helps me out, test some cars. But the Toyota Cheetahs, great that Toyota have invested in them because they really need a lot of
They need
investment.
it.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do. Eh?
Yeah. No,
And good that Francis Stain's getting some wins with Rowan Pino. So just love that those oaks, and that I think maybe defines why he was such a great player, Franz Stein. He's living and breathing that Cheetahs team at the moment as director of rugby.
mate, he does everything. He opens the front door, closes it at night,
He's
puts
as
the lights
pained
off.
when they lose as he was when he lost the
Love
test
it.
for the Springboks, you know, and that's
Love it.
amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
that is the care and the culture that you actually want that's going to swing them around. They just need to hand onto a few players, playing a few decent competitions.
I
as well.
also think that, so Franz Steyn, absolute legend of Springbok rugby, you know, a peerless player. But there is a difference between playing the game and coaching the game. And it's stating the obvious here, but I think Franz sort of cutting his teeth as a coach in the SA Cup is a good thing, because I think there are things about coaching that he needs to learn. And I think if he'd done it at a higher level, the Cheetahs may have taken a few bigger shots. So I think this is a very good learning curve for him. I think Ruan Pienaar's been in the mix for a while and probably has a bit more under the belt there. But I think long term, if the Cheetahs are going to fly with Franz Steyn, this will be a very good sort of learning ground for him.
Well, you know, you really do love Franz Stein. Eh?
I do love Franz Steyn, mate.
Eh?
I said peerless.
Excuse me?
I said peerless, mate.
Fearless.
Peerless Franz Steyn, mate. 2 World Cups, played everywhere, dropped goals. What a player.
I could see just the way that you were romanticizing.
I love that
You
guy.
could see him scoring a try in his
I can see
debut
it.
in 2006.
That
against
youngster, mate, with the curls,
the
just
Coles,
banging it
eh?
over.
Like, just playing this massive game on the win against
I'll
Ireland.
say this, when I
in
say-
the retro Bok jerseys from 1906 to Centenary 2006.
Yeah.
And then that, obviously 2007, the World Cup penalty to take it from 12 to 15, extend the lead, a 15-6 win. And then obviously those 2 monster kicks against the All Blacks in Hamilton when we won the Tri-Nations and we beat them 32-29. France Steyn at sea level, 62 meters. Man, how the guy, and then those drop goals, whether it's from Montpellier, Racine, or the Sharks, the guy could play. France, we love you, mate.
When I said peerless, mate, what I mean is no other backline player could do what he did at 130 kilograms. Just impossible. At the end of his career, mate, standing at fullback, wearing the extra large jersey, untouchable.
Mate, it was 103.
Okay.
And he was 103 when he was close to being selected. He's a big boy.
He's a monster.
Big boy. It's the beard that got heavier, okay?
Yeah.
The beard that got
And the
heavier.
post-match beers. Who else did that?
Exactly. No, it's
Legend.
one of the iconic figures of South African rugby.
time.
And I'm glad that he's here, giving back, and like you say, cutting his teeth in a competition like the SA Cup, basing himself out of Amsterdam in the Challenge Cup. Maar hy was te moedig geweest when they didn't go through. Hy was kwaad geweest. He doesn't like losing that oak, and rightly so.
Yeah.
When you look at the Bok barometers again, the context of everything, much changed for you or not really? Or some of the players that we were touting early on in the season, have they fallen by the wayside? Because that tends to happen. We get excited about players in the first 2 months of a year. It's like, wow, who needs that Springbok? And then you think with a month to go, we need that Springbok, okay? Eben, massive loss throughout the year for the Sharks. Eh?
Yeah.
Huge differentiator for that team.
Mate, Ethan Hooker did not play this weekend. We tipped the Sharks to win. It was a disappointing loss. Here's a guy who had to pull out at the last minute. Fabulous player. I think he's definitely one to watch for the Boks this year. So Bok barometer, he's definitely on the radar there, I think. And then the likes of Jesse Kriel and Damon Dallin are all scoring tries in Japan, doing their thing. So quite tricky to sort of downgrade any of those guys. They're all in form and doing good things.
And we see, I mean, we follow the Japan One League now. We give it a lot of exposure in our newsletter. You guys on SA Rugby Magazine, in your Saffers wrap, it's always there. And on the preview and the recap that goes out on the Keo.co.za website, put together by Jean-Andre Joubert, Yster, our man. His dad's not well at the moment, so our love and our support goes out to him in Pretoria. The one good news is the Bulls did win, and they're big Bulls, the family's big Bulls fans. So we are thinking about you, bud, and our prayers and our thoughts always there for you. But yeah, I mean, it's Japan, and that league is. I saw a couple of the games, and it is questionable. I mean, they say it's getting better and that, and you speak to the players who say it is a tough league, but I think it's the perfect league for our Springboks. They seem to come back refreshed. Not battered through playing 30-odd games in 3 different competitions. And it's good. It's been good for our game, having 15-odd players offshore. And they've produced every year in the Rassie and Jacques Nienaber era for the box.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the more experienced the player is, a sort of a veteran guy, to go and play in Japan is a great call. You can't really get yourself into trouble in Japan. That sort of culture doesn't really allow for it, even though some of the Kiwis have tried their hardest. But you can't really get in trouble. You know, you go to France, you could land up at the donut shop and come back a bit heavier. So I think Japan, you're okay. The league it's good, it's competitive, it keeps you sort of mentally engaged, but physically it's not the same attritional level, I don't think, of rugby that you'd have if you were scrumming in the top 14. So definitely for veteran players. I'm not sure I want to see youngsters go there. I don't want Ethan Hooker to go there in the next 5 years, I don't think. But certainly once guys are established box and need to keep ticking along and getting paid and remain available for South Africa, I think Japan's a great option.
Well, you take about youngsters going there. Damian Marcus went there. He's now come home. I think he's injuries and that. But he's been sharing a change room and sharing a training field with Charles Piatow. And I saw on his Insta he posted, what a great experience to learn from a guy that good. So there's a benefit like that. If a player's going to go for a year and then come back. But if a player goes there too early, he's going to end up playing for Japan if he's any good. Yeah. He's not going to play for South Africa.
100%.
Looking at that league, the Japan 1 league, you got to say it's a great leveler for coaches.
I know what's coming.
Franz Ludwig had a lot of success there.
Yes, he has, mate.
Nearly every coach who has coached elsewhere is there. But Toyota Blitz, they've got
Toyota's getting a lot of airtime here, mate.
They've got Steve Hansen and they've got Ian Foster.
Yeah.
What is this with Fozzie? Wherever he goes, his new records they get broken. It's the wrong time. They've won 3 out of 14, mate. They scored 17 points on the weekend and conceded 55.
Yes. Unlucky bounce, mate.
Fozzie must think.
It's amazing. I mean, I don't know how you can be such a serial loser and kind of hang around for as long as some of these guys do. I'm not saying this is Fozzie's fault. I'm just saying it is an interesting narrative, that, isn't it? That the All Blacks struggled under him, Toyota Blitz.
Chiefs struggled under him.
Clayton McMillan came back, did great things there. So I don't know.
Maybe they need Clayton to Toyota Blitz.
Send Clayton
but
to
he's
Toyota,
going to Munster.
Apparently he costs a fortune. I mean, a fortune.
Hey. You would swear that this guy drives a Toyota. He doesn't, huh?
I was driving one on the weekend, though,
drives
mate.
a Jaguar.
Yeah. License plate cash.
So just tell us quickly, you were in the breeder for a week. It was amazing.
Fabulous, mate. I'm a city slicker through and through, but I really
and what
love
brandy
it.
was it that you were drinking there?
Whatever was available, mate. Whatever.
You don't want to throw
available.
a brand in there.
I'm not going to mention.
You don't want to throw a brand into the brandy.
No, we had a great
Clippies
time.
and Coke.
Great time. Super.
Great time. No, I'm glad that you came back. You're safe, and that we're here to talk rugger. I had the pleasure of having a good friend, Charles Kraus, the CEO of the URC.
Magic.
Had him in for a braai. He arrived at 2:30 in the afternoon, and he left at I think. Well, it wasn't 2:30 in the morning. It was after 12.
It wasn't a full 12 hours.
But it was wonderful because this is a South African guy through and through who's been in Dublin for the last 6 years, and the agreement was this: you are welcome to come here on one condition. I will get the drinks, I will get the wood, I will get the meat, and you do the rest.
Okay.
And toe het hy vir my gewys.
I
Dit is
saw
'n
him
lekker
braai.
braai.
Yeah, I saw him braai.
No, hy het
Sideways.
gebraai. You'll see some of the calls now coming up on the screens. Charles giving us the thumbs up, but it was great to see that, and I think it was also nice for him to have a bit of time out from his own competition, watching a little bit of the Investic Cup and the EPCR Challenge Cup in the background as well. So it was a great afternoon, but made nicer when Pierre Smith sent me the big thumbs up. Bala! Then you knew things were going well against Bayonne.
Yes.
If you look in the context of everything, SA Cup, Super Rugby Pacifica, Japan League One, URC, which will be back on track in a fortnight, Champions Cup, Investec Champions Cup, EPCR, Cheetahs Cup. I think I've covered all the bases there.
MLR.
And our school's rugby. What's going on with
Yes,
Table View
mate.
High?
Great things happening in school rugby.
Great things happening at out your way, Melkos, huh?
They're on the up, mate.
Any surprises for you, mate?
Any surprises for me, mate? No, I don't really think. Look, I am surprised that La Rochelle went down against Munster.
They haven't won this year.
I know, but I've got
away from home.
Yeah, you kind of like you think Ronan Nagara, you think some of the stars they've got there, and how it was relatively recent that they were champions, and you just. It's interesting how pro sports works. How you could have the same recipe, you could have the same ingredients, and yet not produce the same results. So yeah, interesting. I don't know enough about what's going on behind the scenes at La Rochelle and what's going on at Ronan Nagara, but it seems like the sort of love affair there is coming to an end, and I'm not sure what the future holds for him. Before the game, some of the La Rochelle guys were saying, if we can't get up for to play for Ronan in this one, and I thought, sure, that's a bit of a red flag to be talking like that already. So that was a surprising result for me. Very glad to see Munster back doing their thing. I love Munster, blue collar team that do the physical stuff first. So great to see.
And then Leinster. So they'll be the white-collar team, okay?
Correct, mate.
The corporate boys.
Yes.
The pretty boys.
Yes.
With a couple of blue collars from overseas. Now, not hearing too much about Jock Nienhaber being bad for the game when they went 62-0 at Croke Park.
Where's Brian O'Driscoll now, mate?
Eh? Jock Nienhaber has really changed the dynamic of that team.
He has.
Because it's not just this all-out attack and phase play. There is an aggressive mongrel about their defense structures when their full team is there and they get it right. I mean, to blitz Harlequins like that, 62 zip.
Jock's having fun, eh? Jock is having some
that
fun.
was a bloody good result.
Yeah, very good. And I think between that Sharks game and this Quins game, it really has been a great fortnight for him in the sense that he comes up against two teams that sort of are quite flashy. The poster boy for Quins is obviously Marcus Smith. We can score from anywhere, anytime. And I think Jacques, I mean, that's just throwing a dog a bone. Like, he loves that kind of thing. Like, that's his wheelhouse. So I don't think he's struggled at all to motivate his guys. And definitely Leinster are showing an appetite for defense that is a hallmark of Jacques Nienaber's teams. And I'm sure that's taken time because their mindset has been very much about attacking efficiency and speed of ball and all that sort of stuff. So his influence is definitely evident there.
We're going to chat about it later in the week. We're going to chat about it from Pazula because we're going to be up there. We are the guests of honor apparently.
Amazing, mate.
At a corporate golf day in Pazula. Zels and I will be taking questions from the floor.
Make your way there.
Make your way there. And then it comes at a cost. And then we'll do the Thursday show from there. So obviously we'll come out to the gym. We'll be looking really cool. We'll be in a nice conference corporate lounge. So you won't have any noises. I won't have kittens. I won't have kids. I
won't be in the sauna.
Won't have workers going mad. But yeah, Zels, what was I saying?
You were talking, mate, about rugby. You lost your way.
I lost my way.
We're talking about Jacques and the impact he's had at Leinster and how you can see his influence there, mate.
Just checking, mate.
Just checking,
if you were
mate.
listening,
Oh.
okay? Looking at the quarterfinal playoffs.
Yes.
Leinster against Glasgow in Dublin, and then obviously Toulouse travelling to Toulon. I reckon those two games are going to be tougher than any semi-final they play.
Agreed. I think if we look back, we might say those were finals in a way.
I think the finalists.
Yeah. We'll come out of those
unless
four
they're
teams.
on, you must correct me here because you know all
No,
this stuff.
I don't know the seeding on that,
The
mate.
seedings and that.
Yeah.
But that will be those two teams, outside of playing each other, that will be their toughest challenge from what I've seen
Spot on.
in the
If
competition.
the Champions Cup is set up that those four teams can progress, two of them get to the final, that'll be perfect because you'll have some real heavyweights, proper teams in that final.
All right, so wrapping it up, matey, because you saw a lot of rugby this
A
weekend.
lot, mate.
Even if you didn't see much in the week.
Just had one hand over one eye.
Huh? If you didn't see much in the week, okay?
Yes.
Wrapping it up. Who was your standout?
Team or player?
Well, it can't be team because it has to be the Bulls because the only team who won.
Yes.
But you like the underdog, so you're probably
I
going
do
to pick
love an
6 Lions.
underdog. Let me say a Lions player's name that I think is having a great
Yeah, it's
season.
the prop man.
Darian Landsberg, the lock, is having a proper season. I think he put in 20-plus tackles at the weekend. Yes, his team lost, but that guy is playing some of his best rugby.
You like to pull a name out that the public has to go kind of see how do they spell
Proper.
it.
He's nice, yeah. And then Tino, I've already mentioned him, the open side from the Sharks.
Yeah,
Just
he's a
what
good player.
mate. The speed on that guy. As a ball carrier, he's evasive like a winger. He's physical. He gets stuck in at the breakdown. He's real.
You'll probably find he plays for Racing in the next 2 years.
Yeah, exactly, man. I think he's played 6 tests for Zimbabwe.
Yeah, he's a good player. He played for UWC. He's a good addition to the Sharks mix.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to belabor the point because I was really pissed off that they sent a B team and basically got rolled over because I believe that Sharks team could have walked this Challenge Cup. Okay, unless they faced the Bulls in the final. And yeah, it's like we promoting the virtue of South African rugby, how strong our game is, how much depth we have. And then we get results like that and just like a little white flag straight up. Hey, we care so much about this competition, we're not sending any of our top players there because we care about one we haven't won yet, but there's no guarantee we can win it given how our form has been at home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll get over it this week. I'll get over it, but I just want to say there's an argument to be made as to why they did it, and they'll say it works for them.
Yeah.
But that argument is also only going to be if they do actually win the URC, or they're going to look back and say, failed Champions Cup, failed URC, and a weak surrender in the Challenge Cup. But hey, we grew our depth. Did they really? In terms of going there and getting beatings. So once again, I can rest comfortably this weekend. The Stormers can't lose. They don't play. The Lions guys can finally say, they're kind of lekker Saterdag wees. They don't play. The Sharks are, thank God we don't play.
Yeah.
And Jakey's, why are we playing?
Where's the reward? We're on again.
Back to Edinburgh. To scrum on the 4G pitches, waiting for Piers Skuman.
Yeah.
Say hello to his old teammates.
It's going to be a great game, that, actually. I'm looking forward to it.
Some cool games to look forward to over the weekend, eh? We'll chat on Thursday from Pazula after Zels has teed off. I've been in the spas and been in the gym. Am I caddying for you this week?
Mate, I think it's the other way around. I'm going to be putting holes in the tee boxes.
Just
mate.
the way you crash those boats, stay away from the cart.
Correct.